for Nick Miller for making this whole shindig work behind the scenes. Our players are already getting ready to rock and roll here for round number 5, so we're not going to waste any time here with you folks. Trust me, we got plenty of time to talk to Patrick and I over the next 2 rounds. Patrick, we're going to watch Ari Lax, Pro Tour Cons of Tarkir champion, go up against Jason Fleurant, a player from the Vancouver, BC area who actually won the Magic Fest Online Season 2 finals with Teamer Adventures, though he has put away the Lucky Clovers for the more powerful Wilderness Reclamation.
Did you change your shirt?
I did.
Okay.
That's what you took away from everything I just said?
It's the only thing worth commenting on.
Okay. Well, there we go. There it is.
Aether Gust, the Mayhem Devil. Back to
what you say. Yeah. Okay. Well, for Ari, he's got a pretty weak hand right now. A Witch's Oven on the battlefield alongside 3 lands, 2 copies of Bowls of Citadel, and he's drawn a copy of Trail of Chromes, which is better than nothing. So this hand's starting to get at least a little bit better. For Fleurant, you're seeing a hand here with Uro, Mystical Dispute, Negates, Plural, Aether Gust, and Castle Vantress. So a very reactive hand here for Jason, to be sure.
But pretty strong against Lax's holding here. Not a whole lot going on here. And with some counterspells to cover the top end here, if Lax is able to chain together a couple lands.
So it looks like Ari's going to go for a Trail of Crumbs. We will see if this resolves or not. And here is Negate, so that's going to take care of the trail. Forest is incoming. And that'll, of course, hit the battlefield. And we're going to head back over to Jason now. Both these players sitting at 3-1. There's a Castle Vantress. Jason missing, it looks like red mana, but not a hindrance right now, as this is a Mayhem Devil here for Ari Lax. Looks like this is going to be an Aether Gust to take care of that. Ari's going to put that on the bottom, of course, because he is just looking for lands. A couple copies of Mayhem Devil have headed to the bottom of the deck from copies of Aether Gust.
Pretty brutal. It'll be 2 mana away. You need to draw very well in the intervening turns. I think Lax is only on a single black mana, too, so he has to draw very specific lands in a row to be able to get to the Bolas of Citadel.
Yeah, that was the thing I was looking at, too, is what does he need to do to hit the Bolas of Citadel? And it's running black sources. The first one doesn't need to be untapped, but the second one certainly does. In the interim, you're going to see Jason cycle a Shark Typhoon. He's got a 2/2 on the battlefield. Fabled Passage means that he's found the red mana that he was missing, though he doesn't really need it right now. And now he will sacrifice that Fabled Passage, and perhaps we'll see Uro be escaped here in just a moment. It will be time to escape Uro. So the 6/6 will be headed to the graveyard here in just a moment, but first we're going to draw a card, put a land on the battlefield, and gain 3 life. That's a lot for a 3-mana partner.
Quite the deal. Part of the reason it's shown up so much. It's a really good deal.
Is it too much of a good deal? I don't know.
My opinions on it vacillate. We can get into that later or not. But
sure. I would love to hear them. It's obviously a pushed card, and the intent was to make it a playable card. It's just, are we over the line there or not? I think it's very close because I think you do have to put some work in for it. It's not like it's the easiest card to cast either, so there's some work to be done.
So would you play with a card that was just Uro's non-escape clause? 3 mana sorcery, gain 3, put a land in play, draw a card. Probably not. I mean, there's maybe some decks that would, but
yeah, I think there's some decks.
So you actually have to care about the thing to justify putting in your deck, I think.
That's fair. That's fair. This is a Cauldron Familiar. It's not land number 5 here for Ari. Ari would have loved to find land number 5 for pretty obvious reasons at Corvold, but also to get him one step closer to the Bolas of Citadel, which he did not do. So it's just a baby cat that is going to be doing a little bit of blocking, but I think Jason's going to be able to probably run away with this one. And you can also see his hand; it's pretty stock loaded. He's got Aether Gust, he's got 2 copies of Mystical Dispute, and Negate. It looks like he's taken a much more, I would say, permission-based build of this deck to maybe give himself an advantage in mirrors, and of course against the Bantram strategies.
Yeah, and you got to feel really good in this kind of position where you have a lot of cards dedicated kind of for other matchups. You are taking game 1, and then you have an opportunity to sideboard them out. And these Mystical Disputes, because Lax's hand is so needs so much mana, and because his draw is so slow, these Mystical Disputes are actually just going to be totally serviceable this game.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's really powerful about Mystical Dispute is that it just can be just a normal good card, like 3 mana to make someone pay 3 more for a spell. It isn't your ideal constructed card, but it is some flexibility built in with how good it is in the blue matchups that exist in this format, and given that those blue matchups are ubiquitous, it makes it so that Mystical Dispute is a main deck card. But as Corey Baumeister and many others have taken advantage of over the course of this tournament, when you're like a mono green deck, Mystical Dispute looks pretty bad. So there are ways to make that card be a liability.
And even in those kind of matchups, the Mystical Dispute is still useful against mono green the turn you play Wilderness Reclamation to counter a potential Gem Razor. So even in the matches where it's bad, it still has spots where it's very, very good at protecting your key cards.
Both these players go into the drawing board here. While they work on their sideboard, you can watch them start to do that. Ari obviously looking to draw more lands in this next game for his Bolts of Citadels, which he's playing 4 copies of. And Jason's going to tune things up a little bit. We do want to let you know that Commander 2020 edition is available to order now. StarCityGames.com/C20. Get those Commander 2020 cards that came out alongside Ikoria a little while ago. Pretty cool promotion that's going on there from Wizards of the Coast, which is really leaning into the Commander format, which is arguably Magic's most popular format nowadays. Again, StarCityGames.com/C20 to order your Commander 2020 products now. And for Ari, we know, Patrick, this matchup is very, very back and forth. Jund Sacrifice and Team of Reclamation, sometimes the games are lopsided like we saw there. Sometimes the games are much closer. Don't know what the expectation is, but for Ari's build of Jund Sacrifice, he's clearly gearing himself towards being able to play a much longer game with these Bolts of Citadels, these Solemn Simulacrums, and these Cindervines.
Well, it's interesting because both decks kind of have play to them where sometimes they're about edging out little advantages over time, and sometimes it's about going way over the top. Both decks are capable of doing both things. And inside of the matchup, both decks are capable of playing both roles depending on how their draws break and what the sideboard cards are. So it's really, the games are really fluid. There isn't one stock pattern to them. Both decks are capable of playing this Uro and removal spell and Shark Typhoon, try to grind out these little advantage games, or Wilderness Reclamation going way over the top. Same with the Jund Sacrifice side.
Looks like Ari's ready to rock and roll. Jason putting the finishing touches on his sideboard. Now he wants a sideboard for this matchup. And taking a look at his sideboard is always fun, too, because with Team of Reclamation being the most ubiquitous of decks in the format, a card like Narset's Reversal, not good in all matchups, or one could argue many matchups, but in the Team of Reclamation mirror, it is a pretty good card. It's certainly a high-impact card. Again, not a card that's going to come in this matchup, but players are definitely gearing up for maybe the later stages of the tournament when we get into that play-in for top 8 or those elimination rounds. You can expect Team of Reclamation to be in there. So we get ready here for game number 2 between Jason Fleurant and Ari Lax. Players take a look at their opening hands. Ari's hand, it's not the most aggressive hand, but his deck, especially after sideboard, feels as though it plays a lot more as a mid-range, bordering on a control deck there, partner.
Yeah, but this is the type of hand that can be vulnerable to something going way over the top. Now, the 2 copies of Agonizing Remorse should hopefully fend off the best of what's ever going on in Jason's hand. But the Bolus of Citadel and mana, that's just a long ways away from doing anything. And if Fleurant just finds the right cards off the top or draws enough haymakers, it's possible that Ari won't really be able to get off the ground this game.
Well, this is going to be a copy of Agonizing Remorse. So you see the hand there with Mystical Dispute, Expansion Explosion, Growth Spiral Uro, Ether Gust, another copy of Expansion Explosion, and only one more land here in Breeding Pool. If you are in Ari's spot here, what are you lining up here with this discard spell?
Probably the cheapest cantrip.
Yeah, he decided to go with Uro instead of taking the Growth Spiral. I don't know. I don't know if I love that. Obviously, you're eliminating an Uro right away, and I guess, Jason did draw another Growth Spiral, so, hindsight is 50-50, or 20-20, as they say. So maybe that's the right call, maybe it's not. But, you don't have to worry about Uro for the rest of the game. So there is that.
I think part of it, too, is, when you see the Mystical Dispute, you know that your first Bolus of Citadel is unlikely to be good, even if you get there. The game's going on for a long time. And what's the most threatening card in that hand? If he's currently tight on mana, but the game is projected to go on for a long time, and Uro is probably the top of that list if you blend those 2 factors together.
It looks like Fleurant is thinking about playing Expansion, copying this Agonizing Remorse, and getting a good look at Ari's hand. At least he's weighing that option right now before letting this discard spell resolve. So a little something here for Jason to think about, but ultimately he's going to let the Agonizing Remorse resolve. Ari is looking at Mystical Dispute to select. Overgrown Tomb is going to enter the battlefield. It looks like it's going to enter tap. No rush to get that Cauldron Familiar out there. And so now Jason is going to get a couple looks at finding a land here. Here's the first one with a Growth Spiral. That's a hit. Steam Pencil into the battlefield tap. Draw Step is a hit as well. So no muss, no fuss.
But you can see now why Ari put such a premium on getting the Uro out of here, because this game is just shaping up where it would be problematic over a long timeline.
Yeah, I think it's easy to take a look at Jason's hand on that second turn and see he's got a growth spiral and no third land and say, you know what, let me spike that growth spiral. You don't draw a land, on the third or fourth turn or what have you, and then all of a sudden this game goes into easy mode. But I think I agree with you where if Uro was available in this game has a completely different tenor. As things currently do stand, these copies of Expansion Explosion are actually starting to look pretty good. The first one can probably be fired off here pretty easily just for 2 to get Jason a little deeper into his deck. So we're going to get ourselves into a little bit of a longer game.
For sure. And I think the case to take the growth spiral there is more powerful if Ari's hand is in a position to just get on top of the game and end it quickly. But he's just on lands and Bolas Citadel. So he's just got to be shaping up the game to be able to play it over a long timeline.
Here's that copy of Explosion. Stomping Ground and Wilderness Reclamation are the draws. Draw for the turn is a Stomping Ground. So now this deck is starting to hum a little bit here for Jason Fleurant. This is what we're used to seeing with Temur Reclamation. Found a copy of its namesake enchantment, has its win condition in hand in Explosion, though it is a flexible win condition. It is a good one. So now this is that Wilderness Reclamation.
Yeah, tough to play the long game against Brain Geyser.
Yeah. That's very true.
That's been an issue in Magic for about 30 years now. It's hard to play a long game against that card.
So Reclamation is in. It's going to untap those lands. And perhaps we'll see an Explosion now. You see 3 mana floating, access to 7 more. So that'll make 10, which means the Explosion could be for 6 if Fleurant wants it to be. Decisions here for sure. And it looks like he's thinking about letting it rip for some amount. The question again is just how much. Okay, you know what? He says full amount. Do it to it. Picked up another copy of Expansion Explosion. A lot of lands there along with a Flame Sweep. So if you are Ari, you've got land 6. You have 3 Black Swords. You got Bolas Citadel. Off to the races we go. Let's start with the kitty cat. This one's basically free, which is Oven. Is going to be good as well. So that's going to come in. Here comes a Gilded Goose. Let's fall down a little bit lower. Another Goose is about to be loose. Remember, a land is going to put the brakes on this thing right now. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 permanents on the battlefield. Could sack a food to get a Call to Familiar back onto the battlefield. But for now, I think Ari just has to pass the turn back. It wasn't a bad turn, Patrick, but it wasn't a game-winning one.
Yeah, given the leftover 7-card hand that Jason has here, it kind of had to be lethal in that shot. Another copy of Wilderness Reclamation and Expansion Explosion, I think, is going to finish this one off.
And we'll take a look now. Jason is going to deploy another copy of Wilderness Reclamation, so that's going to hit the battlefield. There will be triggers aplenty, but it looks like Jason should be able to float enough mana, fire off a 3rd copy of Explosion for more than 10. It's actually got to be around 12 for this to work. If memory serves, with the ability to bring a cat back by sacking a food, and then, of course, using the Witch's Oven to sacrifice a cat and then bring it back. So Jason, given his pedigree, I think isn't going to miss this, that it needs to be for a pretty healthy amount, but we'll see exactly how much he wants to fire of this Explosion off for. And he says, how about all of it? How's all of it sound? 16 is a winner. Jason Fleurant dinner. He's going to win this match here over Ari Lax 2-0. Temur Reclamation is going to take care of Jund Sacrifice. And Ari, both of those games really didn't get anything going at the early stages of the game. They were games that were based around Bolas Citadel, and he just couldn't get it off the ground, Patrick.
No, we saw Bolas Citadel be potent in previous matchups before, but against Temur Reclamation is kind of in this awkward spot where it doesn't help you in the nickel and dime sort of game early on, and later on in the game, Temur Reclamation deck that's set up can go way over the top. So there's this really tight window where the card has an opportunity to be effective, and unfortunately for Lax, he just couldn't cobble together the right pressure and or power in the intervening turns to really leverage the Citadel.
Well, we had to jump into that match very quickly because players had challenged themselves already on Magic Arena. We didn't want to miss any aspect of that match, so it was a quick one there for Jason Fleurant. But one thing we didn't get to do is go over our Players to Watch leaderboard heading into round number 5. So we want to let you know that Corey Baumeister is sitting in first place right now with his take on Mono Green Aggro. Yuki Ishikawa is 4-0 with his take on Jund Sacrifice. Very Bolas Citadel heavy build for him. You saw Ari Lax come into this match with a similar build as Yuki with at 3-1, but now he's fallen down to 3-2. Brett Nelson is 3-1 with Bantam Ramp. And you see Autumn Burchett, of course, playing Team of Reclamation. Got runner-up in our first championship qualifier 2 weeks ago, sitting at 3-1. And Jim Davis, Ross Merriam, Michael Bunde, along with Jonathan Hobbs and Christian Calcano, and their records, some 3-1/2s, showing up there. Carolyn Kavanaugh, Michael Braverman, Paulo Vitor, Dama de Rosa. Not oftentimes you see him at 2-2 in any tournament. Manny Devuti and Jonathan Suarez also checking in at 2-2. So 144 players did join us here today, early on this morning, 10 a.m. East Coast time is when we fired this bad boy off. And, I figured that mono green, I obviously have some bias, but to see this at the top of the standings right now through 4 rounds, all right, Corey, I'm feeling pretty good about this, Patrick.
And a little personal flair to it, not a stock list. Going to the Great Hench and having a little bit more staying power. It's an interesting build. And seeing the green deck, which we normally think about where the power is coming from, is going 1, 2, 3, 4. Corey's list is a little bit better set up to play a later game, to hanging around against removals. So it's not just a few cards; it's a fundamental change to how the deck plays and is constructed. And right now, he's at the top of the standings.
Well, we'll see if he's going to be at the top of the standings after round number 5 is done. For now, we're going to take a very short break. We're going to come back with a time-shifted match. So we'll take a short step away. We come back.